Welcome to 3 season of Pod. We're back. How
Oh
long have
yeah,
we
we're
gone?
so back.
Like what? 3 weeks?
hmm
3 weeks?
Probably 3 weeks.
Dude,
We're
shit,
so back though.
shit happens, man. Shit happens,
Life,
man.
snowstorms. Come on,
Yo, the
man.
snow
Yeah.
that snowstorm fucked me up, man. Cause I don't have a
Yeah, no,
snowblower. So like,
I don't either. We
Oh
literally had like
shit.
5 people here because Justin came over too,
you have
and
five
we were just
people.
yeah, like
Yeah,
and we were just talking because usually it's like just 3 of us or whatever. But it was funny.
you
We
lucky.
did a morning one and an evening shovel. It just
Yeah.
kept going, bro. It was like a
No,
whole
it
day.
did. I ended up going out at like 1 o'clock, dude. I was
Yeah.
out there for 7 hours. I was the only one shoveling because I live out here
Man.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was out there for like 6-7 hours. So immediately after, started looking up snowblowers. I'm like, I'm not doing this shit no more, man. That shit was fucking rough. But yeah, we were supposed to do an episode that day. I think that was what, a week and a half ago now.
hmm
Probably.
We were not gonna do a fucking episode after that, bro. I was out
Yeah.
there. I was like falling asleep when I got inside. It was fucking exhausting. So,
Mhm.
but anyway, we're back. We're back.
Yes, sir.
Nathan had an accident, so he's not on camera.
hmm
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I still stand by our comments from the last episode. If you guys remember, I like the way the team looks, man. I mean, it really feels different. It really feels like this year's year because like losses don't really affect me like that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Right. Aside from that Bucks loss, which was just like a manhandle.
That was just like annoying one, yeah.
Yeah, it was annoying, but it was also understandable. Right?
Yeah,
Coming
exactly.
off a back to back. I know there were a lot of memes going around like, "Oh my god, everybody gets back to back." Like that's the fucking point, bro. You play an overtime game
Yeah.
and you travel on a back to back. That's just hard for any team. But I love the way the team is playing. These losses don't move me, but they're good learning experience, right?
Mhm.
So like that Bucks loss, for example, I love that Joe didn't play any of the starters in the second half because the team is prioritizing health, right? And what's the point in playing your starters and try to mount a comeback from being down 40? Like that doesn't serve
Yeah.
any purpose. Someone can get hurt.
Especially when you're already tired.
Yeah, you're already tired. You're gonna lose anyway. And they were clearly not in on it from the jump.
Yeah.
Like, playing a back to back with overtime is one thing. Playing a back to back and traveling home. And
Yeah,
away,
yeah. If you're like
two
home,
different
it's a
things.
little different.
Yeah. Or even on the road. Like if you're on the road, like I think tonight we play Houston. They're off a back to back, and then we're playing tomorrow against the Mavs. But at least
Yeah, because it's still Texas.
it's still Texas, so the travel's not crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't really want to talk about the Bucks game, but I want to talk about the Nuggets game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch upon
Yeah.
the Bucks thing a little
Yeah.
bit too, because I just have like a couple things.
I mean, you can hit it on it right now. We were already talking about
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, the fact that it was like a scheduled loss was like as true of a scheduled loss as it could be. I'm usually not one to say those kinds of things, or like it's not like those just sound like excuses.
Yeah.
But it was acceptable. But it also like showed me a little bit about like how the Bucks specifically, because I do think that that's going to be like a potential top matchup against us in the playoffs.
Mhm.
How like they would play against us, and like they've been on like a very like their defense has been pretty bad essentially. And while like their defense didn't impress me in that game overall, I think their overall like engagement was still a lot better than what I've been seeing from the other teams that they've been versing, because they'd be dropping like 140s to like to other teams and shit, and they're like 145 to like win. So not that it really moved me in any kind of way, but it was just interesting to see the Bucks be a little bit more engaged, because I feel like they kind of been lackadaisical for the whole start of the season, or like basically up to that game. That was the first time I've seen the Bucks like actually like look good, in my opinion. Prior to that, I kind of was just like, oh, I really don't have like much trust and faith into them. But for sure, like that reinforced to me that if we were to meet them in the playoffs, it's going to be like a longer series for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For a minute now, I was just wondering if they were going to figure it out. Like they were winning based off like just the talent and stuff, but they weren't able to put it together in those kinds of ways. And like I said, their defense wasn't anything spectacular. Like there was so many
Felt like we were
cuts
just
that.
missing shots.
Yeah, like we were missing shots that we could easily taken or like easily made in prior games, but we had so many cuts too, like on the backside of the defense that we just didn't do because clearly we were just like tired. Like that obviously takes way more energy to do that. So we were just chucking threes. But I think, yeah, I think that was like the only thing that was interesting out of the game, out of a fucking like 30-point blowout. So, but the Nuggets game for sure is one that I want to like talk about way more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree though. That Bucks game, I think from the jump, kind of could see the energy was not there completely. Team was definitely tired and shit. But I mean, yeah, like the Bucks. I mean, that game could have easily been won if I feel like if we didn't go to OT against Timberwolves that day. But again, we did go to OT, so whatever. But I mean, the Bucks they haven't really like shown me a lot, I guess, or they're not completely like in their best form, or you could say, but they did have their best game against us that day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like shit. Last night they could barely beat the fucking Pistons without Cade. So that Bucks team ain't until come playoff time. Yeah, I think they'll be in top form, but right now, regular season, I feel like they're just again their talent is just kind of just carrying them with the W's.
Ironically, they kind of like remind me of Celtics teams of like the last year or whatever, like that. When I was talking about it, less so on the defense because we've always had like a strong defensive identity, but we definitely, if it always felt like to me that we were just winning off of like
talent,
us being like way more talented, and that's why like the whole last year I was just like, I don't know, it just feels sus. Like regardless of how we're winning, we're just like offensively killing teams, but we're not like locking in and beating them. Like it was either a blowout or like we just lost. We weren't like closing out those really tough games and like showing a lot of adjustments and stuff like that in the clutch and all that. So it reminds me of like how the Bucks are kind of rocking right now. Like they can lock in and be like a good team, but they don't really seem like they're gonna be able to put it together when it matters the most in playoffs.
Yeah, especially with that big of a change to their roster, like putting in a guy that's been a 1A his whole career.
Yeah,
it's going to be an adjustment for anybody. Also, I was seeing some memes going around at the time of the loss, which I was fine with looking at Twitter at the time because like, I'm like, come on, man, y'all can't really be taking this loss that serious. But people were like, they say Dame can't play defense. I was like, what?
Oh, that was crazy. That's crazy. Honestly, seeing Dame on the Bucks now, I'm like, yo, he looks like even worse than I thought. Like I didn't watch a lot of Blazers games
defensively, yeah.
But I'm like, dude, defensively,
bro,
these motherfuckers just run past him.
Yeah, but anyway, I did want to. I think Nathan brought it up. I did want to highlight that OT win. We got Jason Tatum masterclass. I regret not buying tickets to that game because that was crazy.
No, that was a very good game. Very tough game.
But no, like I said, I'm not moved about any of these losses. I think if anything, this just shows like not the Bucks loss, but like I think from what I'm seeing so far with a larger sample size, I believe in this team, man. Like this is more so than other years, at least in this.
I agree. This is the most faith I've had in this team for sure.
But moving on to the Nuggets game, okay, there's a lot of overreactions right now from everybody. I really.
All right, let's see. We might differ in opinion, but we can talk.
We might differ in opinion, but like I'm talking about overreactions in terms of like, oh my god, the world is ending. We're never gonna.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like, please shut the fuck up, man. Like, okay, I gotta say this though, right, about the Doomers, because this is getting to like mental institution levels, because if I really believe this, okay, and this is something like. Regular season losses used to affect me. They did. I understand it, right? It sucks seeing your team lose. It's not a great feeling. But if after every single loss, it confirms to you that this team will never win anything, especially with the talent we have this year, you might need to find another sport, my boy. Like this is not,
yeah. I think that is fair. That's fair to say. My only or counterpoint to that would just be that this game, out of all the games, like all the other losses, we've kind of like consensus talked about it. We were like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You're gonna lose games and shit. Right. But in my opinion, out of all the games, this was the game that was the most like the closest to what
It was like a
would be
litmus
like in a
test.
playoff game.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Or like a playoff game, especially against the Nuggets. And both teams clearly like felt the same way about it. They're
Yeah,
like,
100%.
this is my biggest threat, and like these are the defending champs.
Yep.
So I do put like more weight into like this kind of game, and I mean we will talk about it when we break it down a little bit more. But I mean we
Yeah.
can keep going. But
For sure.
it kind of showed me the reasons why I like the Nuggets are still the favorites in my opinion.
Mhm.
It showed me like the woes that the Celtics can have. And obviously there's still lots of time for that to be adjusted, but that definitely did give me an indication that it was like, oh yeah, like it's not fucking guaranteed based off of our talent that we're gonna
Right.
get to this
Right.
finals easily.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's my only counterpoint.
No, I agree with that. I think it's fair to be critical of mistakes that a team has made. But if the world is falling down for you every time we lose,
Yeah, every time is crazy.
find
But-
another hobby, bro. Basketball's
Yeah.
not for you. Like, you gotta be able to move on, buddy.
There's too many damn losses in this season, bro.
Right? I think there's not like very rarely will you see any championship team lose less than 20 games. Very rarely. It's happened maybe once or twice that I can think of.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the playoffs, like you're not gonna sweep every game, man. Even the OA team lost 10 games. Like it's gonna happen. But man, I loved what I saw from a player reaction standpoint. Like I think, did you guys see the Jamal Murray soundbite of how? And this might feed into what we talked about.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
talking about like, they came out
Highlight
with
adjustments.
different adjustments and different looks. Like after every single timeout, every time they made a run, they got a different look and had to adapt to it. And they were able to adapt to it because the Nuggets, man, the defending champions. They won for a reason, right? And I agree. This was a weighted game, and the game mattered. And it's not like I don't think. Obviously, it does suck to lose a game like that, but I do think we played well, man. You're gonna look at the box scores, and you're gonna see Jason Tatum shooting 9 for 24 and 1 for 8 from 3, and you're gonna see Jaylen Brown shooting 6 for 19 from the floor and missing 2 clutch free throws. That's what people are gonna see when you look at the box score. But I thought they played well, pretty much in every other aspect, except defending Jamal Murray because he was fucking unconscious.
That's just who he is, man.
That's just who he is. He's a big game player.
I love that though.
Yeah,
out of him.
Jamal Murray, man.
It's so dope to see. Like just a random tangent, but I think it's so dope to have a player that like literally only fucking rises to like
To
big games.
He doesn't
Like we always talk about how Murray could be like a borderline all-star and shit like that.
yeah.
But it's like it's very rare to see a player rise up to the big games only.
Nah, for
And like just fucking sandbag that shit for the rest of the other games. I'm like,
Coasting-
goddamn,
he's
he
coasting
is
to
all
what matters.
NBA. Yeah, he's all NBA once the playoffs come. It is crazy.
But other than that, I didn't really hate the late game execution as much as a lot of other people did. I know there were like a lot of people were mad at spamming threes, and I'm one of those people that likes like, hey, if your threes aren't hitting, attack the rim.
Yeah.
They attacked the rim. It was a pretty healthy dose of both. I felt we were just missing shots that Jays normally make down the stretch as well. But I had this stat, and I'll throw it out there real quick. The Jays shot 15 for 43, which is like 35%. They were 2 from 17 from 3. And the Joker and Jamal Murray shot 29 for 43 at 67%, and they were 5-11 from 3. And the Celtics only lost by 2.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fucking positive, in my opinion. So
No, for sure.
that's what I got. I mean, I'll let you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get what I kind of agree with what you're saying for sure. I was watching a podcast too of some guy who talks hoops and stuff. I'm pretty sure it's like Jason or something. And like he was bringing up a point, and I was like, that's kind of facts where people talk about like shot quality and stuff like that a lot now. And especially like we saw it in the playoffs too last year, where it was like, oh, you know, this was like kind of OD, but where people were like, oh, this was like what the score should have been or something like that. Like you remember that shit?
That was okay. We got a little off top of it because that was last year when we fucked up the Bucks by like 50.
Yeah.
And then this kid, I don't remember his name. He's like a big Bucks Twitter guy, and he goes, the Celtics may have won by 41, but if you look at the shot quality chart, the Bucks should have won by like 12.
Yeah, we were just missing shots that we should have hit, stuff like that, or like they were open and stuff like that. Right? So that has become like more of a thing. So basically, what he was trying to explain was the fact that like, playoff games are extremely different from regular season games, and it's because of all those like extra little amounts of effort that you put into each like small thing, like diving for a ball or like defensive slides and stuff like that. Your mental capacity is like the workload is just marginally more.
Yep.
So in the way that we felt like this game was a lot closer to just like an actual playoff game, they treated it that way too. So it doesn't. I wouldn't say like shot quality or like they were missing a lot of shots that they should have made and stuff, because it's not like as close to being indicative to what it is in the playoffs because of those extra efforts in those small, like every department basically on the court. So like a regular like 3-point shot that JB would have taken at the end of the game, when they got the offensive rebound, that's like completely different from the shot that he actually took after like playing the Nuggets in those like 40 something minutes basically.
Right.
So we can't like equate those like that shot to the same kind of shot that they'd be taking in that same spot in a regular season game against like who the hell knows, like the Pacers or some shit.
Right.
So like I do get the argument of like, yeah, they missed a lot of good shots, but I do think the shot quality that and like the shot diet that these guys still take is still rough. And while like Jokic and Murray shot crazy percentages, they just know how to make and like create shots that are in their benefit in these kinds of like high pressure or like really ugly games, because obviously they did that to win a championship. They weren't like taking a bunch of pull-up threes or like catch and shoot threes, because those are a lot harder to take, instead of taking those like 15-foot mid-range shots that obviously like
I will say to that point, and I agree, I think obviously as intensity levels rise, like even a good look has a lot less space than a good look in other games would look like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But Jamal and Joker were making some crazy fucking shots.
No, they were. But I mean, that's just a testament to them being
exactly.
Like,
that's what I'm
a championship team. And like for sure, the discrepancy is bigger. And it's like this is a game the Celtics easily could have won for sure. And I'm not saying like it's a doom and gloom type of situation, but I do think at the core of it, just the principle of the kinds of shots that they're going for is what separates them for now. I think, what I'm saying? Like
between Denver and Boston.
Yeah, between Denver and Boston, and like the shots that they were looking for and they were confident in going for compared to what the Jays were going for at the end of, the clutch time, and what they were basically like confident in doing, which were like, the catch and shoot threes or like the pull up threes and stuff like that. And that's like Boston as a whole too, because that's like our philosophy. But that's the only thing that I take away from it that is like, oh, this still like can scare me. And that's why like I can easily see them getting to the finals, but I do still have like the Nuggets as my favorite because of their ability to go to those kinds of shots in those situations. I think like we all recognize that Tatum can easily do that in the mid range and the post and like driving. And I would like to hope that he's kind of sandbagging it too in the regular season. But when I see games like this where it is like, closer to a playoff game, this game clearly meant something for them. Yeah, to see him like go 1 for 8 from 3 is kind of crazy. And yeah, that isn't like too nitpicky, because obviously like he'll have like really good games and it'll be a long series between the teams anyways, because this is just one game. But I think that is like it will always be like the main thing to me, because it's been like that for multiple years too. They just don't know how to get to the spot that they should be confident in, basically, outside of the pull up three or the catch and shoot threes.
Yeah.
And those have the most variance, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I hate that we lost, but again, I'm not like those doomers, but like shit, our season's over. We fucking lost to the defending champions. I mean, this was a good test for the team, going against defending champions and kind of playing a fully like capable team of going all the way again. I think and I was kind of talking to Mackie and stuff, telling him like, yo, like we're gonna experience the highest of highs and the lowest of lows throughout the season. I I don't feel like this is the lowest of lows for us, but like we just gotta stay the course. And I think the guys are definitely gonna take this as an experience, and we're really gonna learn from it. Kind of and throughout the season, for the rest of the season, and into the playoffs, we're definitely gonna figure it out, and we're gonna in times like this, we're probably gonna go back to this game and kind of see what we could do better and take it as again an experience. But I just think that it's overall like we didn't play. I mean, we didn't play the worst, but like if we did play a little better, we definitely could have won that game.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was a great game on both sides. Like outside of like pure shot making from the Jays, it was actually just a really good game from the Celtics.
No, it was for sure.
I think it was and like I said, I think from both squads, it was just a really good game, and we got outplayed.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
and that's gonna happen. But like, it makes me excited too about the potential matchup.
I will say this one nitpick that I just remembered. I didn't like how we kind of went away from KP sets in the second half because he was
for sure. I was gonna say that too.
Killing it in the first half, and I don't think he had more than 3 shot attempts in that second half, which is kind of
dude. I mean, he ended up with 11 shots. So like, I think that should be because in each loss that we've had that have been like significant losses, KP hasn't really done it like been utilized in the fourth or like the second half.
Yeah.
And I just think that's good for it to happen right now because I'm hoping that they put attention to that so that they're able to try to work that into like the playoffs and stuff like that because clearly the Jays have never worked with a big like this. So once it gets down to like pure like instinct and like you're going back to your patterns and stuff in like the clutch time, they clearly are not like trying to utilize KP in the way that they have because they've never had a big like this in all 3 years playing. So for them to go through these experiences and losses, I think we'll have them like think about it more so later on in the season and like the playoffs.
Right. I will say he is at least touching the ball and he's involved in the motions where he's setting picks as opposed to years past where we would have our fucking point guard set the pick.
Yeah.
But I wish we did run a little bit more through KP.
Absolutely.
Week. But I mean, I'm not saying we would have won, but it's an option, man. It's an option.
It is. I mean, he was doing great. He was doing great. That first half was looking good.
Yeah, and speaking of options, and running sets through KP, coaching. So, okay, I'll say this one thing before I jump into the other thing. This is the funny thing, okay? At the end of the game, 17 seconds left, down 2. We took a timeout, moved the ball up, and we ran a play. The play broke down. And it ended up in Drew's hand, and he's running at the top of the key with 4 or 5 seconds left. And then Joe called a timeout. That was a great timeout.
Yeah.
The play had broken down, and in years past, we don't get a shot off in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
And then coming off the timeout, inbound the ball to Tatum, he actually gets to his spot. And this is why I don't think it's that big of a deal that he missed, because he actually got good separation, and he just missed that shot. But I bring that up because that's actually really good coaching, in my opinion, right? So you guys saw Kendrick Perkins on whatever the fucking show is on ESPN. I don't know what it's called. I don't watch that shit. So,
it was just a post-game show, I think.
Yeah, right? It's just a post-game show, probably. But it's the same 4 people doing post-game every game.
Yeah.
You know how Inside the NBA it's called Inside the NBA.
Yeah, this is ESPN's.
Right. So Perk said this shit about Joe Mazzulla, where he's like, and Joe Mazzulla, he's like, if you put his brain in a bird, the bird will start flying backwards.
That's kind of funny, I can't lie.
It's a little funny. It's a little funny.
Wait, where the fuck does he think? Like, that's so random.
But how okay, look, Perk has been obsessed with kind of shitting on the Celtics ever since he left.
Yeah. That
I don't know what the fuck is going on with him. But I wanted to get your guys' reactions on this because,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what you just said there is like just what I feel of it. Like he's been on like I wasn't there for the 08 or like those runs and stuff like that. But since then, and I don't even know how like he we broke off from him in terms of
Traded
like
him.
relation. Yeah, I know we traded him, but like in terms of relation, I don't even know if that like ended up being sour or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean he's been on like a hate fest for the Celtics for a while, so it hasn't surprised me. Like even the whole breaking up the Jays
Oh my God, yeah.
narrative.
He's
Like
been, like, at
he
the
was
top
hella
of it.
yeah, he was advocating for that shit hella long. So it's like that stuff doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I thought the comment was just kind of funny because I was like, what the fuck are you even like thinking?
Oh man.
But I mean, personally, I would disagree if we're actually like trying to talk about the coaching itself. Joe's definitely done a lot better this year, and I have more faith that he will come out with adjustments in the playoffs. Because I mean, that's all I'm really like thinking about. I very rarely expect a regular season game to like game plan against the team.
Agreed.
But outside of that, like he's made like, you know, regular adjustments within, or like trying to try out or trying to do different looks, at least on like the defensive end and stuff like that. We have like the whole zone thing too that we're testing out.
2-1-2 zone. Yeah.
Yeah, with like Drew in the middle and stuff like that. Like I think all of that is just stuff that we weren't seeing at all last year. Which even last year he was decent. He just didn't seem like he was doing anything progressive or like trying to adjust to what we were like lacking in. But at least seeing those things is enough for me because I know he's at least like smart enough to buckle down on that kind of shit in the playoffs. So whether like he might have some misses or whatever like that in like the regular season, and that might lead to like a loss or two. But overall, like he's been way more proactive, and that's all I can ask for, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I mean, Kendrick Perkins has kind of been an egghead to me, man. Like,
I mean, pure basketball tape, yeah. That's nice too.
Like the shit that he be saying, bro, I can't even take seriously sometimes. But like, yo, I don't know. For me, Joe Mazzulla has shown great improvements from last season to now. You know, everybody last year was complaining about the timeout situation, and the fact that he did have 2 timeouts in that Denver game, and he used both to put us in a position to either tie the game or, you know, win it. Obviously, it was a good choice. And like you said, calling that timeout with Drew at the top of the key with 4 seconds, Drew probably might have got blocked, or he probably would have forced up a crazy ass shot. But to get another timeout and get JT a look, it was definitely the best thing in that situation. But I think just, again, Kendrick Perkins just be hating, bro. Like, I understand like some shit that he be saying, like when he was defending Marcus Smart, us losing him, and saying all that, like we're done, like we got to make another move, and then we get Drew Holiday, and then like, you know, I don't know, he just be back and forth. He be hating, but at the same time, it's like when we be up there, he'd be like, yeah, Celtics, you know, they have a real shot and shit. So, like again, I can't take this too seriously, but it just is what it is at this point.
Nah, for sure. And honestly, I only really brought it up to kind of like defend Joe because I feel like he's getting still getting a lot of harsh criticism. And I don't think he's been bad at all.
Yeah, you know, much better than like. Yeah. But I mean, to be granted, like we do have a super talented team, so it is hard to gauge. But I do think it feels like he's more proactive than a lot of like other new coaches. Yeah, because a lot of times like new coaches, and I mean even like coaches that are stamped, it's just like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
to see him doing stuff is
my only gripe with Joe this year has been some of the lineups have been a little crazy.
Yeah.
Like Luke Burnett and Al Horford double big lineup is a little crazy to me. But, you know, but overall, I think he's done a great job coaching. And I alluded to this earlier, where it's like the Jamal Murray comments, where it's like he's actually out there coaching, like throwing out different looks defensively out there for other teams to kind of like figure out, and that's a good thing. So anyway, I think, man, we're 32-10, man. Like, there's really not a lot to be upset about, right? We are blessed. We like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, enjoy the ride, man. I'm telling you, if you're a doomer and you're watching this, just enjoy the ride, man. You'll be happier in life. Like,
facts.
You're like, for real, bro.
I get that stress in the playoffs. That's all.
Like, I get
for
this,
now. Just chill it.
Yeah, exactly. In the playoffs is a different animal. But if you crying over a regular season game, I got news for you, man. You're not gonna survive the playoffs.
You're not built for it.
Man. All right. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.